Okay, so let me share my screen. Of course, I found something that my niece found something, and I'd like to share it with you.
That's absolutely beautiful.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yep.
Okay. So now let's get down to the review. It's time to review. I'm gonna make your work. Okay, so these are the houses, and in the various columns, I would like you to tell me which sign, we're talking about the natural horoscope now, which sign is on that cusp? What is the volume in that house? What is the house Trinity? And what is the house society?
We're still on just because.
Oh, okay, wait. Just because?
Just because.
New share. Okay, just a minute. Here it is. Share. Now, do you see it? House, sign, volume, Trinity, society. Do you see it now?
Yes.
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 Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, I just want to make sure. Yeah. I can be challenged sometimes. So, what sign is on in the fifth house?
Leo.
Mhm. Ooh. Okay, and what volume does that house broadcast?
Moderate, I think.
Yes, yeah, okay. If it's moderate, what is it then? What kind of house?
Oh God.
Succeeding.
Cadent.
Succeeding.
Oh, succeeding. Oh,
What's the Trinity?
life. Family.
Well, fire, but life.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it is.
And the
What
society?
is it? Oh, life. Okay.
Companionship.
Wonderful. Okay. Oh, I gotta make this one a little
I'm
wider.
not good in this one.
There we go. Okay, second house.
Taurus.
Taurus.
Oh, I tell you, and the volume.
Also
Succeeding.
And the Trinity.
Wealth
And the society.
is personal.
Eighth house.
Scorpio.
Volume. I really didn't organize this well. I thought I did. I called myself doing it well.
Succeeding.
Yeah, come on. Trinity.
Psychism.
Society.
Is companionship.
Six.
Virgo.
Volume.
Cadent.
Trinity.
Wealth.
Society.
Is also companionship.
Okay, we're this 8.
8 or
Wait,
11.
just a minute. Yeah, 8 is not right. In the society.
Is the 8th house. Oh, 8, 9, 10, 11 is public.
Yeah, okay. 11. Oh, well, so since you did it already, let's put that in. Okay, 11th,
Aquarius.
Aquarius.
volume,
Angular.
Succeeded.
Oh, succeeded.
Trinity,
Again?
Association.
and we got public already. The 4th,
Cancer.
volume,
Hayden.
Trinity,
Psychism.
and society.
Public. No, personal.
Companion.
Companionship. Okay, 7,
7. Libra.
volume,
Angular.
Trinity,
Association.
and society.
Companionship.
12,
Pisces.
Pisces.
Hayden.
volume. Yes, yeah, I heard you. I heard you, RJ.
Oh,
Trinity,
Psychism.
Yes.
and society.
Is personal.
3,
Gemini.
Gemini, and the volume.
Hayden.
Skate.
Trinity,
Association.
and society.
Personal.
9,
Sagittarius.
Oh.
Succeeded.
Life.
Society. Why don't
Earth. Personal.
Oh. Public.
public.
Yes.
Okay. 1,
Aries.
good old Aries. Volume,
Angular.
Trinity,
Life.
society,
Society. What is it?
Personal.
and the last,
Capricorn. Angular. Wealth. And public.
Public.
okay. Now, all of the companionship houses are the houses where you need somebody to do something with you. 4 is the house of, do you remember? What's one dominant association with the 4th house?
Parents.
Is that brethren?
Well, no, if it's not brethren,
Oh,
Cancer.
The dominant
What do you
parent?
think of with Cancer?
Parent.
Family.
oh
And
yeah.
Libra is the what sign?
Scales.
7.
Yeah, that's the
Yes.
house that, yeah, but how would we describe Libra? Libra is a
Marriage.
Relationship. Balance.
it's a relationship marriage, so you need somebody to help you with that one. All of the companionship houses are houses where you need other people in order to manifest whatever is about those particular houses. All of the public houses are the ones that are mostly east, on the east side, and they are certainly above the horizon. And the personal houses are the things that you keep close to yourself. You know, you present a face in the first house. You don't necessarily present yourself, but you present a persona. You present a personality. Yes, your character and all of those other things come out. However, it is still a mask that you present to the public. So what is in the first house is something that's personal. What's in the second house are your personal values, how you handle your personal possessions. The third house talks about your personal environment, your siblings. So that's just another way to look at the houses and to work on remembering the key words and concepts that go along with the particular houses.
Vanessa Peg wrote in the chat that the 9th is cadent.
Oh, I sure did. Thank you. Who is that?
Mike,
Michael?
yeah,
Okay, thank you, dear. Okie dokie. Okay, so now we're still talking about signs, although now we're relating them to the tarot. And the coins represent what?
Earth,
Nope.
Oh,
Air.
gosh.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the characteristics of air are? What are the air signs?
Conflict. Oh,
Communication, thoughts.
Intellectual communication. Yeah.
I just have the cap lock on. It makes it a little easier. If that offends you, let me know and I'll.
No, it's easier to read like that.
Okay.
Very easy. Thank you. What else do air signs do better than, well, are concerned with? Look at the chart above, and all of the air signs are what are in which Trinity?
association.
Yeah, so, and associations, you make associations how, or in what kind of,
Friendship.
yeah, and not friendships as much.
The people.
Yeah, but
Business.
they're social.
Like-minded.
The air signs are social beings,
Mhm.
more so than anyone else. Swords,
Earth,
Earth.
and their characteristics are,
Stability, stick to the
practical,
mud.
I'm sorry, I
Grounded.
didn't hear.
practical,
Earth,
down to earth.
And grounded.
I like that, thank you. What else?
Family,
Yeah, but they're not noted for family as
Wealth.
much. Yeah. In order to get
Material
that, what do
possessions
you
and
have to
stuff.
be?
Say that again.
In order to get that wealth, what do you have to be? What do you have to do?
Business. Business.
frugal. Persistence, being frugal.
Oh, stubborn.
Stubborn, yes, yes.
Oh, boy. Okay. Yeah, no, not necessarily. There's another characteristic that you would, is a quality that you would more associate with stubborn than earth. You know, they're grounded, they're persistent.
Materialistic,
Oh, industrious, savvy. Yeah. Kind of.
They can be materialistic, but they're no more materialistic than anybody else. Perhaps they are more susceptible than others.
They accumulate.
Okay. Scepters,
Fire, I think.
Ambition,
Pioneers.
say that
creative,
again, please.
Leader.
Yes, they can be leaders, but you would associate that more with a quality than you would with just the particular sign.
outgoing and adventuresome,
Impetuous.
Impulsive.
And how about cups?
emotional,
But what they represent what?
Water.
Water. And water?
creative,
Yeah.
psychic,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
But that's not, and their water is more,
impressionable,
yeah.
Emotions or emotional.
Thank you.
Emotional.
receptive,
Passive.
Receptive, you said, right?
receptive, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, all of this stuff is on Google Drive. And I should have, I can't tell you right offhand which document in particular they're in, but it's all there. This is what we're gonna do tonight. Now, if you are able to go to Google Drive right now and can print out a blank horoscope wheel, I'd appreciate that, because that's something that I want to go over at the end of class. It's an exercise that we're going to do together. So if you can do that, that would be wonderful. Otherwise, we are ready to begin Astrology 101. And last week, well, this week, what signs do we have to do?
Capricorn.
We didn't, nope, we're doing the
Capricorn
last
was
two.
in
Yes.
81.
Yeah, this is class 7.
Aquarius and Pisces,
We're doing Aquarius and Pisces, the weirdos of the zodiac.
the what?
The weirdos of the zodiac.
Oh, okay,
Everybody has, the Virgos are supposedly the hypochondriacs of the zodiac. They say Cancers are the crybabies of the zodiac. Pisces are the, well, they're one of the weirdos of the zodiac, as well as Aquarius. That's one of the funny things that people can say about those particular signs. So we're going to start with Aquarius. Aquarius is, oh, I picked the wrong one. Just a minute. Let me go back. New share. I picked the wrong one. Excuse me. Oh, I know what happened. Okay. What happened was I
I made a really big mistake and I had to redo the presentation tonight and I neglected to change the link after I had redone it. So here we are, we're here with Aquarius. Aquarius is depicted in the sign as the water bearer. But what water is this bearer pouring forth? It's pouring forth the water of knowledge, a flood of wisdom. Physical body, the Aquarius rules the ankles. Because a lot of what we're going to see from spiritual astrology from Aquarius has to do with horses. And horses are symbols of good sense and of locomotion, powerful locomotion. So powerful good sense, powerful good thoughts, which is certainly true. Aquarians are generally very well learned and people, and they remember practically every daggone thing that goes in front of their face. So they can be annoying because they remember everything so well. And they're generally a good authority. They are a fixed sign. So here we come to that stubbornness. It might be an air sign, but because it's fixed, it can be very stubborn and opinionated in some ways, and especially about what they know. They know this to be true. Boom. Sometimes it's not worth it to argue with an Aquarian until they've discovered what you're saying to them themselves. Now they will admit that, oh yeah, you know, you did say that. But until they get to that point, they can be very persistent in their version of whatever story it is. Aquarians are humanitarians, or can be considered humanitarians. They're also cause fighters. They enjoy fighting for the underdog. They want to get it right. They want it to be true and correct and right. So Aquarius is ruled by the planet Uranus. Uranus is the planet of electricity, of invention, of its eccentricity, all qualities and traits that they share with Aquarius. They're ingenious and original. And the age of Aquarius happened actually at the latter part of the 19th century. So we're well into the age of Aquarius already. And that has been evidenced by the tremendous technological growth we've experienced, certainly in the last 40 to 30 years. The advancements in computing, and I'm going to date myself. I'll do it anyhow. But you know, computers, home computers used to be very heavy. They had these CRT screens that were difficult to carry around. And although there were laptops in the 80s, you needed a hand truck to carry it around with you. And now we have a computer in our phone. It works the exact same way. And you can hold that in your hand. You put it in your pocket. And some of us put it in the pockets that we carry around with us all the time. The pockets that hold the twins. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking Aquarius. We're talking about advancements. But the Aquarians and Uranus also are very interested in philosophy and astrology in particular. An Aquarian can recognize the science of astrology. And they work on the advancement and of their physical senses in order to enhance the other senses that allow them to commune on the inner plane. And you know the golden rule? That's Aquarius. Now, this is an air sign. They rule thoughts. And your thoughts are extremely potent. So you want to cultivate positive thoughts. You want to cultivate constructive thoughts for yourself and for others, and toward others. In the major arcanum, Aquarius is represented by the number 9, the sage, knowledge. And the court cards, it's represented by the youth of coins. So a young person or a person with with youthful thinking, of an Aquarian temperament. Remember, the court cards do not necessarily talk about a person of that sign, of the sign it represents, but a person who exhibits those characteristics of the sign it represents. That's why it's called divination, because you have to be creative when reading them to discern what meaning to give or what association to make. Now, the first decadent of Aquarius is Aquarius, Aquarius. And it talks about horse sense. We had the speed and power of the horse, and an Aquarian intellect embodies both power and speed. Now, your car, the power of a car is related in horsepower. In this decadent of Aquarius, only the head of the horse is shown, so it's talking about more about horse sense, about good sense, rather than so much of the speed. Oftentimes, an Aquarian will investigate something before just outright discounting it. But once they have investigated it and they find it to be lacking, they will tell you about it. Sometimes their thinking can be narrow because of their interest in researching and acquiring knowledge. I have here in my notes that it would be a good idea for you to read the Aquarius section in spiritual astrology, because it provides a basis of reading a birth chart, talks about the map of the soul, talks about the birth chart's relationship to the astral body, how one can identify talents and tendencies, attributes and organization of character, and the ability to improve and develop additional talents and qualities. That's just in the Aquarius section of spiritual astrology. The dates are January 20th to January 30th. And the dates for Aquarius in general are January 20th to February 20th. But the first decadent of Aquarius is January 20th to January 30th, excuse me. It is also gives advice to take advantage of all knowledge so as to encourage one's success. And Aquarians are definitely original. Next to love, man's most useful companion is knowledge. In particular, the knowledge of the manner in which the planets influence human life and destiny. And what is that? Astrology. Take a moment and think about where Uranus is in your chart. And that points to your interest in astrology. In what house? In what sign? How does Uranus relate to other planets in your chart? And those are ways in which you may be able to use astrology. So Aquarius is a fixed sign. And the fixed signs in their decanates are all the 4, 5, and 6. So the Aquarius decanate, the first decanate of Aquarius is number 4, and 4 in the major arcanum is the sovereign. And the sovereign is Scorpio, another fixed sign. So they're going to hold on. They're going to plant it firmly. And here we're talking about the 4 of coins under the influence of Scorpio, Aquarius, Uranus, and Saturn. And Saturn, you'll understand when we get to the end of the class. The Saturn is a co-ruler of Aquarius. Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius. And Saturn was the first ruler assigned to Aquarius. Talks about moral strength. That's the Scorpion influence. Money raised through a partner, companionship, 11, Aquarius. Profit through invention and ingenuity. So the next decanate of Aquarius is Aquarius Gemini. Any questions? Aquarius Gemini. And the dates are January 30th to February 10th. And on the wings of Pegasus.
Excuse me, Vanessa, so you include January 30th in both decanates?
Yes, but not at the same time.
Oh,
If
okay.
you know that it takes approximately 2 hours for the sun to travel through a house.
Okay.
So when it gets to the first degree of the house, well, very shortly thereafter, it is already past the first degree. So let's say Aquarius ends at 4 o'clock in the morning, and Pisces begins immediately thereafter, still on the 30th.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Also, the sun, the spring and summer months are longer than the winter and fall months. So although we have the same number of degrees occurring at that time, they happen faster. Or they appear to happen faster. They don't happen over the same amount of time. I think there are about 184, 185 days in spring, summer, and about 176, 179 days in fall, winter. And I should have written it down because it is in spiritual astrology as
It's in spiritual astrology. It might also be in astrological signatures. And why? It's also the triumph of good over evil, of light over dark. However, also now what's happening with the sun? In Capricorn, what happened to the sun? The sun crossed the horizon. It came from below the horizon and now it's rising up into the sky to get to its highest point again. And where does its highest point? When does it reach its highest point in the sky? During the sun of Cancer. And what is the relationship of Cancer to Capricorn?
Polarity.
Yeah. And no, well, actually, no, because they are of the same polarity. Cancer and Capricorn are of the same polarity.
Oh, they're both movable signs.
They're both movable signs. Yeah, there's another one. There's another relationship that they have. They're opposites. So Cancer is when the sun is at its highest and it starts to descend. Capricorn is when the sun is at its lowest and it starts to rise. Interesting. There are so many things to think about when you're looking at astrology. It's wonderful because it's a lifelong quest to learn astrology. So I am pleased to be among you lifelong learners. Anyhow, Aquarius is also interested in this particular decanate because it's Aquarius Gemini. And boy, when these two get together, do they talk? More so than Libra. Libra is more a social being, although they are, they deal with the intellect as well, but their intellect is more dealing with people and society and social things. Whereas Aquarius and Gemini wants to know about everything because it's fun. And Gemini just likes to flit here and there. Whereas Aquarius wants to know it all because they have to know it all. And they have big fun talking back and forth. I'm certain a lot of things go over people's heads when particularly an Aquarian and a Gemini who have had a long-standing relationship start talking. They probably have a different kind of shorthand. And perhaps you have experienced that with a friend at one time or another, where you finish each other's sentences, or you can just look at each other and you know exactly what's going on. Well, that kind of thing happens with Aquarius and Gemini. Mercury, which is the ruler of Gemini, is exalted in Aquarius. So that's, getting knowledge, communicating ideas, standing up for the underdog. There's Aquarius. And we have Pegasus inspiration. Because they know that whatever knowledge they acquire on the physical plane will allow them to investigate the inner plane and gather and make sense of that knowledge so that it can be used for the advancement of others. So that people can be freed from oppression. Under special conditions, while still maintaining physical life, It is possible for man to free himself from the physical body, to visit the homes of the dead, to enter the halls of learning, and to bring back in full consciousness the knowledge gained in higher spheres. And that tickles an Aquarian to no end. Just lap it up. You know why I don't read these things more carefully before I finish them? Because I've noticed a mistake in my notes. So the second decanate of Aquarius relates to the 5 of coins. The 5 in the major arcanum is the Hierophant. The Hierophant, it talks about Jupiter. So what are we talking here? Expansion of knowledge. Inspiration, boing. And this expansion of knowledge with Jupiter, Aquarius, Gemini, Uranus, Saturn, and Mercury. Saturn to make it practical so it can be used on this plane. Jupiter and Mercury to expand knowledge, and Mercury to communicate it to others. So we're talking about abundant wealth, and that's just not money, although it could be money. But the abundant wealth is also the concern of air signs, is the thoughts, intelligence, information, abundant wealth, profitable contacts. If any sign were to be called altruistic, it might be Aquarius. But remember, they are the weirdos of the zodiac. I say that lovingly. So the next decanate of Aquarius is Aquarius. What's the only air sign left?
Libra.
Libra, right. So now we're going to take the knowledge that Aquarius has, and we're going to temper it by Libra's ease in social situations. Libra's facility in social situations. Because Aquarians can be kind of harsh.
Vanessa,
Yes,
was the page supposed to turn?
no, not yet.
Okay, sorry.
No, thank you. So we've got Aquarius, Libra, which is Cetus and repression. Again, we're talking about another horse. And another big animal. Cetus is a distorted looking whale. And it talks about the discord in marriage and how discord is death. It talks about unions that are not based on love have a great potential for discord. And with people who are in close relationships, there's an easier flow of etheric energy. And if that energy isn't on the same wavelength, it produces discord. Two stories that are associated with this particular decanate of Aquarius are the story of Jonah and the whale and Andromeda. Jonah was sent to save some people who on the water, but he was so anxious about it that he made the water even more rough, and then was devoured by Cetus, the sea monster. But when he quieted his emotions, he was let back and was able to accomplish his task. Now, Andromeda actually was a victim. She was the victim of her mother's ambition and materialism and pride, because Cassiopeia, Andromeda's mother, thought she was all that and told Neptune that, and so Neptune took her daughter and chained her to the rock and waited for somebody to come and eat her up. However, Perseus, because of love, did come to save her. So discord produces death. It encourages disease. As if you worry about something, one of the more famous things that happen when you worry too much is a good old ulcer. But it can produce more than that. Some contend that every disease is somewhat psychosomatic. And that right thinking can cure it. However, Zane also cautions that you might think right, but still go visit the doctor. This decanate of Aquarius is associated with the number 6. Number 6 is 2 paths and Venus. 2 paths, a keyword associated with that particular major arcanum card is temptation. You have 2 ways to go. You can develop your finer senses of discrimination and appreciation of beauty, or you can go down the path of least resistance. And so this is similar. There is always a choice with 6. And it's a choice of union. 6 is a next level of 3. 6 is 2 3s. 2 types of union. Temptation, which way are you going to go? The high road or the low road? Because it is associated with Libra, it's going to be a social event. Social event where you might have to repress your natural expression. And if you remember, repression of a characteristic or a trait always comes back to bite you at the most inopportune time. So that's something that's possible here. It also tells you that the little things count. So a perspective can be as great as the Grand Canyon, or as small as a speck of dust. And just changing your perspective, even that little bit, can be a big thing. Talks about friendly criticism and reward through humanitarian activities. And that's Aquarius. Aquarius, the humanitarian, the cause fighter. Looking for everyone to be victorious over oppression. So what house do we have with Aquarius? The 11th house. And it is the Trinity of association. It is a succeeding house. It comes right after an angular house, before a Caden house. It is public. That's the society it's in. It's above the horizon. So whatever happens, what in this house or whatever the concerns are in this house are visible to the public. They are noticeable by people. And it is east. So it helps to mold the environment. And that's certainly, oh, Aquarians are going to do that come heck or high water. Aquarians are a force to be reckoned with. Positive, and because they are so driven, they can be difficult to take. However, this fixed sign is not the same kind of difficult as Scorpio, because Scorpion's emotions are a different kind of intense. They're not as stubborn and rooted as Taurus wants to be comfortable. And certainly not as vain as Aquarius. I mean, Leo, excuse me. Because Leos can be vain. Look at me, I'm gorgeous. Yeah, I meant to look that up because every time I think of that, I think of Muhammad Ali. He was so pretty. Anyhow. So the Trinity of Association, the 11th house, deals with acquaintances and friends in hopes and wishes. Talks about groups, clubs, organizations, and generally humanitarian organizations with altruistic goals. Aquarians do tend to point toward universal welfare. But they're on this plane just like anybody else, so they're susceptible to all of the other nonsense that everybody else has. And remember, your birth chart consists of 12 houses. And because there are 12 houses, there are 12 signs, and so every characteristic of every one of those houses and those signs, and then we have the planets to deal with, is within everybody. It's just that the focus comes within your sun sign. And you have to deal with all of that as it comes through your sun sign, as it comes through the house in which your sun is positioned, as it relates to the ascendant, the moon, and Mercury in their signs and their house positions, and their relationships with all of the other planets. There's a wealth of information to be gleaned from a birth chart. I did tell you that Aquarius is the sage. And let me read to you what's in Sacred Astrology for the Sacred Tarot for the sage. It says, prudence is the armor of the wise. Circumspection enables one to avoid snares and abysses and to foresee treason. Take it for thy guide in all thy actions, even in the least. Nothing is indifferent here below. A pebble can overturn the chariot of the master of the world. Keep in mind that speech is silver and silence is gold. That's the sage. Now, there is so much information in all of these books. You can take a little breath when you read number 3. Number 4, ancient masonry is fascinating. So book number 5 is Mental Alchemy, another fascinating book. We talk about 6, the Sacred Tarot. And the Sacred Tarot doesn't just talk about the major and the minor arcanum. It, of course, makes reference to astrology. It also talks about numbers. It talks about religion. It talks about philosophy. It talks about, oh, I don't have the book in front of me right now, but it's a wealth of information. And we've skipped from 2 all the way to 7 because I wanted to introduce the decadents, because they make a difference in the way you look at a chart. Yes, Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. And that's why Aquarius behaves so well when it is paired with Mercury. They in Mercury and Aquarius, Gemini and Aquarius, enjoy each other's company thoroughly. And it's because of the exchange of ideas. So now let's get to the other weirdo. And what do you have on the cusp of your 12th house? Because that's where the next weirdo resides. Pisces, the fish. Something I missed the first time I read this book, the second time I read this book, but I didn't miss it this time. I do know that the symbol for the fishes are the 2 fishes swimming in opposite directions, and they're bound together by love, but they're not bound together in a rigid sense. This love allows each fish to go in its own direction, to pursue its own goals, to further its own agenda. And because it's governed by love, they tend to benefit each other. So their binding is very independent. Pisces is the 12th sign in the zodiac. It's at the end. Just before we get to start again. So it's a woodshed house. Because it's so close to the end, and Pisces is ruled by Neptune, sometimes Pisces can appear to have a very little grasp on reality. Have terrific imaginations. They're ruled by the feet. So if they're ruled by the feet, that touches the earth. Wouldn't that keep them grounded? Well, yeah. And perhaps that is what keeps them from really floating away. Now, Pisces can be just as difficult as anybody else. Their focus is not like the rest of the signs. They're dreamy, mystical, romantic. If anybody's wearing rose-colored glasses, it will be a Pisces. Oh, and a Pisces love can move mountains. Pisces have a capacity different from the other signs for love with no strings. And once they love you, that's it. They love you, period. They can still tell you off. They can still call you a dirty dog. They can still do mean and unthinkable things. However, they still love you. They lie to themselves, and so therefore they can lie to you. And that's the disillusionment of Neptune and the secrecy of the 12th house. Pisces, the key word is I believe. It's a water sign. It's mutable, feminine, ruled by Neptune. And the dates are February 20th to March 21st. Chopin was a Pisces. Bach was an Aries. And he certainly was headstrong. I could tell you stories about Bach. He did marry his cousin. And they had 19 children. And if you count PDQ, he had 20. PDQ Bach, excuse me. That's right. And he's not real. Peter Schickling. He was a Bach scholar. And then he had some fun with Bach. And he rewrote a couple of madrigals, according to Bach. They were fun and funny. Anyhow, but think of Chopin's music. Chopin was a romantic. He was involved with George Sands. I can't think of her name, but that was her pseudonym because more so at that time, women were not considered to have any type of valuable intellect. But you know, think of his music. It's just very romantic. It's not easy. There are some easy pieces, but it's not easy. Well, that's Pisces, and that was certainly the love he and George Sands expressed to each other. So we're talking love is the tree of life, and its fruit is universal brotherhood. That's my dog. Anyhow, and the tree of life and its fruit is universal brotherhood. The fruit is Pisces. The tree of life is where Virgo was. You know, it's the temptation that to which Eve succumbed. And I told you my opinion about that. She was set up because as a Virgo, she wanted knowledge. Mercury, I got to know. Anyhow, Pisces is associated with the number 12 in the major arcanum, which is the martyr. To give up something, to give up the material for spiritual gain. It's not necessarily poverty, Because it's not the money is the root of all evil, it's the love of money is the root of all evil. And the court card, which is with which Pisces is associated, is the Youth of Cups. A Piscean person with a youthful temperament. Now, the first decanate of Pisces is Cephas, and it talks about verity or truth. And the story with this is the story of the two keys of St. Peter. And what are the two keys?
Astrology and tarot.
There we go. Thank you. Astrology and tarot. Now, I have some issues with Peter, but that's my stuff. However, he was a rock, and Cephas was a rock too. It was something solid upon which to build a philosophy, on which to build something that produces love. And love, as the Beatles say, love is all you need. Pisces have a facility for understanding the inner plane. They have to be careful because they can be mediumistic, and when one is mediumistic, it is easy for these astral entities and elementals to take possession. And then someone becomes oppressed. But here we're talking about the truth of the study of the two keys, the gold key and the silver key. The science of astrology is gold, and the art of the tarot is silver. As it is above, so it is below, and that which is below is like unto that which is above. And I know you've heard this in many forms, many times. So what you create down here is reflected in your on the astral plane. And part of your task when you're on this plane is to build a vehicle that you can use on the astral plane. Again, we go back to Aquarius. We go back to all of the other signs. Thoughts are things. Learn all you can about the physical plane so that it can be applied to knowledge that is acquired on other levels. As this is a mutable sign, and all mutable signs are reflected in the minor arcana by 7, 8, and 9. The first decanate of Pisces is the 7 of Cups. It's influenced by the 7 in the major arcanum, which is the conqueror, and that's Sagittarius. And the relationship that Sagittarius has with Pisces is that they're both mutable signs. So this is something that will be covered in Astrology 101B. Sagittarius and Aquarius are square. So it can be a difficult relationship. However, they're both pursuing the same thing: knowledge, faith, philosophy. The 7 of Cups is influenced by Sagittarius, Pisces, Jupiter, and Neptune. And it talks about a successful change of home. And that change of home could be a change of perspective from self-deception to clarity. The next decanate of Pisces is Pisces Cancer. And here's Andromeda. And Andromeda went willingly to the rock because she knew if she didn't, her countrymen would suffer. So she thought, okay, well, I'll suffer and the rest of my people will be okay. So let's talk about self-sacrifice. It also talks about the self-sacrifice of those who push for advancement of society, advancement of man, advancement of knowledge, advancement of philosophy. Christ wanted to advance the people. He wanted to make their lot better. And we all know what happened. He was crucified. The story that goes with this is Prometheus defies convention. And Prometheus had discovered different ways that people could improve their health. But because it wasn't part of the status quo, he was hounded by those in power because they thought that they were going to lose something if he managed to teach people what he had to teach them. Other people mentioned in this section of spiritual astrology are Pasteur and Galileo, who is excommunicated for saying the earth was round. And the 12th house, Pisces, is a house of imprisonment, of prison and institutions. Here we have the 8 of Cups. 8 is the balance. Interesting balance is Capricorn, which is opposite Cancer. So, although these signs are opposite, they do provide balance to each other. And the sign that's opposite your sign does provide some balance. And like Andromeda, who sacrificed herself to save her people, this is what we're talking about with this self-sacrifice, so that you can achieve soul progression. The 8 of Cups is the influence of Capricorn, Pisces, Cancer, Neptune, and the moon. So there are high tides and low tides. And it talks about blending the practical with the ideal. And don't let your heart rule your head. The last decanate of Pisces is Pisces Scorpio, Cassiopeia, vicissitudes. Vicissitudes means changes. It's a key word that is also associated with the number 10 in the Sacred Tarot. These are major changes. These are upsetting changes. And so Scorpio rules the 8th house. 8th house is death. But what is death but rebirth to something else? So it's a necessary thing. It's generally death to rebirth. It's rebirth into something we know very little about. So it can be anxiety producing. However, it is also something that promotes spiritual growth. It can also talk about betrayal, because one of the stories that are cited in this particular section is the story of Joseph and his brothers. Because he was their father's favorite, they manipulated him and he wandered the desert and became a slave of the Pharaoh. But Joseph had insight and was an excellent astrologer. and was able to give Pharaoh good counsel. And so he rose to the top. He managed to advance. This decadent talks about being able to transition from the physical plane to the astral plane, just as you would travel to work every day. It doesn't require anything but so great as to just moving from one place to another. This is the 9, the sage, Aquarius. Wisdom, circumspection, knowledge. And the 9 of Cups. The 9 of Cups is often referred to as the wish card. Influenced by Aquarius, Pisces, Scorpio, Neptune, Mars, and Pluto. Awful lot of stuff here at the end. You're trying to get it all in. That's why the 12th house is a woodshed house. You know, it's not broadcasting great volume because there's so much that you are working on within. And when you break through to the angular house, then you broadcast that which you've been working on. Hopes realized, emotional stability, change in domestic affairs. Now I see in the chat that people have been telling each other about other things that are the purview of the 12th house. It's the Trinity of psychism, it's a Caden house, it's a personal house. It's above the horizon, making what it has to say have some difficulty in keeping it private. And it's east, so it molds the environment. Self-sacrifice, unseen forces, relation to astral entities, in prisons, institutions, sorrows, disappointments, disillusion, illusion. The 12th house is often called the house of self-undoing. A house where you can be your own worst enemy. Again, cautioning to not let your heart rule your head. I'm still working on it, but the review for next week is, I'm going to send it to you beforehand, and it would be nice if you could attempt to work on it between the time it arrives to you and the time that we see each other. Next week is our last meeting together. Okay, when the ancients assigned planets to sign and signed a planet, they started with Leo and Cancer. And oh, I can't. I had my house painted last month, and I still haven't put my house entirely back together. A lot of my books are still in boxes in the garage, but there's a book written by a rabbi, and it's Kabbalistic Astrology, that explains this very nicely. This book was recommended to me by Skenska. You can say it, please, Vega. But anyhow, the ancient Skenza, thank you. Skenza, there we go, thank you. It starts with Leo and the sun and Cancer and the moon. And then they go in opposite directions. So after Leo comes Virgo, and before Cancer comes Gemini, and both of those are ruled by Mercury. After Virgo comes Libra, and before Gemini comes Taurus, both ruled by Venus. Continuing in that same vein, we have Libra and we have Scorpio and Aries and Mars. Sagittarius and Pisces. So Pisces was first assigned Jupiter. And then Neptune was discovered. And Neptune seemed to fit better. So Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces. But Pisces still has the influence of Jupiter. And that's it. And that Jupiter is Pisces' ability for expansive love. Love with no strings. And we got Capricorn and Aquarius, Saturn. This particular chart is not in the Google Drive, but this next one is. It talks about table of essential dignities, and perhaps Rodney, we were communicating last week and week before last about some of this. This might make a little bit more sense now. In any event, this is a table of essential dignities. It talks about the planet and which sign it rules. The planet that's, when the planet is in detriment, it is in the opposite sign of the ruler. The planet in exaltation, and when it's in fall, it's in the opposite sign of the sign in exaltation. And this chart is in Google Drive. Now, what I wanted you to do with the chart wheel is I wanted you to look at this is something I don't know whether or not I put it on the chart wheel that's in Google Drive, but it's certainly something that I would like you to make note of. And as I said, it takes approximately 2 hours for a sign to pass through a house. So we have 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. on the horizon. We have midnight and noon on the vertical axis. And 2 hours in between each. So that when the sun is at Virgo and you were born at 3:30 in the afternoon, your sun would be in the 8th house or somewhere around the 8th house. If sun is in Aries and you were born at approximately 11 p.m., your sun would be in the somewhere around the 4th house. I have exceeded my time. I do apologize. I'm going to ask you about this particular chart. I will ask you to describe different signs. I want you to look at the keywords of the signs. And the previous chart, look at the rulers. You don't have to worry about anything else. Just look at the rulers of the planets. And think about how the decanates influence the sign. Are there any questions? Rebecca, you have a question?
Yes. Did you say this here is going to be in the Google? Are you sending this?
Yeah, I'm still working on it, and I will be sending it to you.
Okay. And I was also going to ask you, Vanessa. I got a lot of handouts at the beginning of this class. But I haven't gotten any since. Have you sent any since the very
No,
beginning?
I haven't sent anything there. Everything is in Google Drive.
Okay,
If you downloaded everything in Google Drive, you have everything that's for this class.
okay. Except this, you will be sending this.
No, this is in there too. I want you to put the times in,
Okay. All right.
okay?
All
So
right.
you just need to know the four cardinal points, northeast, south, and west.
Okay.
6 a.m., 6 p.m., noon and midnight. And then
All
everything
right.
is 2 hours in between.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, good. Anybody else? Okay, well, we've come to the end of class, and as I said, I apologize for going over. Take some time, certainly, again, serials 46 and 47 in astrological signatures. But don't limit yourself to just those serials in astrological signatures. Read the whole book. Spiritual Astrology is one of my favorite books. I enjoy the stories, and the stories manage to give me insight into the different signs. So read the whole book. And while you're at it, start at course 1 and go all the way through course 21. Read the whole book. And then when you finish, start again. Because each time you read it, you're going to get something else. Every time you read it, you can count on it. You can count on it. Even the Aquarians that I know who have read it get something different each time they read it. So we're ready for the closing ritual, Vega. Say, yeah.